What's up, peeps? My name's PEZ. This is my man 360. Welcome to the ForthWrite Podcast.
Number 3. No, is this number 2 or 3?
It's going to be number 2.
Number 2. Last time we sort of dived into me releasing music and the processes that I've gone through and that we both go through, and that I think now we want to really get down to our story, like the genesis of ForthWrite.
Yeah, which
Old Testy.
I guess the confusion at the start there, babe, thinking was it 3, was it 2? Because we did do a pilot and we spoke about a lot of this stuff, which is pretty fun to revisit.
Yeah, so the pilot was shot
Reminisce.
at PEZ's house, and it wasn't in this real dope setup that we're in now.
Porno studio.
So we're sort of going to retouch on some of the stuff, and there might be some clips that we release from the pilot as well.
Yeah, go through it. And just to clarify, like not an actual porno studio, I don't believe, to my knowledge.
Yeah,
but
we definitely don't condone that.
Yeah, in the ForthWrite vernacular though, that's just what's porno mean.
Porno,
stylish.
yeah, porno means slick.
Yeah, sharp. You know? Like getting, and you're in a suit, you're getting dressed up looking porno.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant by that, babe.
Class, even though porno is not real class.
Anything but class, but that's all right.
Yeah. So we're going to go pretty much from the start, like through how me and you met.
Well, yeah, that's, I guess, as reaching out just to fans on the front end and like kind of asking like, what would you guys want to hear us talk about? That feels like a lot of the common things at the front end was like, how did you guys meet? How did you first get into hip hop? You know, kind of what were your influences, all that sort of stuff. So we thought, let's start there. Let's go back to the beginning, babe. You want to set us off? Take us away. How did it all begin?
So we were playing basketball. Well, I think it was both at the time our dream to be ballers. Like we both wanted to
Definitely
go to America, play NBA and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And we played at Ringwood Hawks, and we were doing, I think it was VBL and ABA, or it might have even been before that too. I'm not too sure, but it was at Luther College, which was actually my high school. That's where our practices were.
Our trainings were, yeah.
And it was pretty obvious that you were into hip hop.
Is it? Why was that, babe?
just by the fashion sense. I think it was both of us at the same time.
Definitely, yeah.
Man, and PEZ used to rock this like sky blue dewy, like a do-rag with like socks up to his knees and the massive shorts and that.
Awesome.
And I'd be wearing the double denim shiny Rockaware outfit like that you get from the markets.
I remember that vividly, man, with the Timbos on.
Oh man, and being
would have had probably the bleach blonde hair too.
Yeah, that's just made it so much worse as well. Like the pale skin that was really skinny, and the Timbs,
big Timbos, man. It was gangster.
And walking around like I was some thug, you know.
Oh, we all were, man. Nah, maybe not. But to be fair, I want to clarify the reason I had the Dewey on, which is amazing in itself, but like, was that I had, like my claim to fame, man, was like I had a friend that went on a trip to New York, fully went to Harlem and all that stuff, and like came back with like an official New York do-rag. So, man, I felt so special. Copped so much shit for it too. Like,
but you just didn't care.
Didn't
you just
care, man.
repped it to the fullest.
That's right.
It was amazing. And I forget how we connected on that matter. But I
think it was an unspoken agreement when we both walked into the stadium in that type of attire. You just looked, you nodded.
He's down.
This dude understands. No one else gets it, but we get it. That's it.
Yeah, and I was rapping. I'd been rapping since I was 14, so I was like
awesome.
deeply into it. But it was in that kind of area where I was like really trying to emulate the.
So you were into Eminem at that point?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Into Eminem from like the jump.
Yeah,
pretty much the get go into Eminem and like Big L and Wu-Tang. Really liked that kind of stuff, and I think by the time we were playing basketball, that was very much into like lyrical commission and was trying to emulate those dudes, like trying to be one of those tough. So
that's a good thing to start straight away, because like about influences, like what was the first thing you heard that sort of started it? Was it Eminem, or was it something? Do you remember that? Like, was there a certain thing you heard that you were like, oh, and then suddenly hip hop started to become a thing? Like, how did that all start?
Yeah, in high school, like we all used to skate, and my mates' older brothers would all listen to rap, and we used to like idolize them, you know, and they'd be listening to like Battletown, which were Aussie rappers.
Right.
That rapped in the accents, like it was Weapon X and that.
Ah, right.
And also it was like, there was Jurassic 5. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember Jurassic 5 for
we
sure.
loved them when we were in like year 8 and that. And so
Wow.
we started in school just going, let's do like what they do. So we just started writing these raps and just doing them at lunchtime and recess.
Man, that's epic. So you heard like, even though it was rapping in accents, you actually heard Aussie rappers from the jump.
Yeah, it was Battletown. Like it was Detect and that. It was really remarkable to think that they were being listened to back then. It was such a niche little market.
That's so awesome though.
And I actually remember for like majority of my teen years before I really got into it, I hated Aussie rap. I was like, this is all just like barbecue nonsense with these overdone accents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was, man, my 14th birthday was my first gig, and that was Eminem at Rod Laver.
Wow.
Yeah, with Craig Thorne.
Wow.
And Brad. And
What album did he have out?
That was
it like Marshall Mathers or something?
Slim Shady LP and Marshall Mathers LP, I think, was
In his
just
prime,
popping off, man.
Wow. That's like when we went and saw Kanye, like while it was happening, like while it was popping, you're actually there.
And it was his energy, like M came out with a M. like we're homies. Slim came out with with this chainsaw.
Oh, right.
Like,
so he was,
like, wah! And everyone's just like, what? But I'm pretty sure the chainsaw was off.
Yeah.
Because the government flagged him with it, said he couldn't actually have a chainsaw running. So it was like the sound, but it looked real. And man, his energy in that show, you could tell he was so hungry.
Yeah.
Like he was jumping on top of speakers and just, he had this breath control where he could just nail everything without falling off. It was like so impressive, man.
Did he have a hype man? Did he have
it was Proof. Okay. Yeah, it was Proof. And what's that song where he's like, these are the results of 1,000 electric volts, a neck with bolts. Nurse, we're losing him. Check the pulse. You know that one?
Yeah.
That he like went off stage and then the curtains shut and he was like on an electric chair, just like going crazy, and then broke into that song.
Man.
It was epic, dude.
That's another, I mean, that hits pretty close to home with like, I don't want to deviate into serious stuff straight away, but does that feel like part of what drugs kind of, which you would relate to? Like, because you essentially used to come out when we were young with that level of energy and like how it's fine. Like he was killing it for so long, but then same thing happened with him. There was a point when he was performing where it was like he almost started to lose that stuff that you're like, man, you were just like, he had so much fire and had so much sort of that zeal or whatever that is, like at the front end, but it was kind of, so you got to actually see him.
Yeah, I think a lot of my style through those years was trying to emulate him, you know, and I think like I remember just downloading and being obsessed with hip hop and battle rap. There was all these battle raps on Napster and LimeWire that you could download. It was like this guy called Idea.
Right.
And he had all these battles online and pretty much was the only one you could listen to. There was some Scribble Jam stuff as well.
Oh, yep.
And hearing him in these battles was just like, oh, I've got to get into this. I've got to start doing this. So I started writing battle raps and like wanting to battle people. I remember going to like these parties at school and battling people. Like they'd set it up and the whole party would crowd around us and it'd just be like something from the movies.
That's so good.
And I remember battling this dude and he's just straight up just jacking cannabis. Like he's just rapping all these cannabis lyrics and stuff.
Oh, right. Just a straight jack.
And I'm just hooking him, man, just destroying him. And I remember him walking off and kicking a chair in half because he was so upset. I think he thought he was going to body it. But that influence, like that Big L influence where it comes from just punchlines for days and the real technical side of rap with the multi-syllables and all that.
Yeah.
That was what really hooked me into it. What was yours like introduction to make you want to rap?
It's the weirdest thing because it was like something else speaking to you sort of thing, but it was like I vividly remember it because I was like maybe like through that period for a bit, like maybe like Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. Like there was certain songs that had been big in a hip hop sense and you sort of know of them. But I remember I was procrastinating trying to just not do homework at home. You're just watching the TV, trying to watch anything. And I swear it was like NYPD Blue or something on, and it was about a rapper. And then it had a special guest, was Biggie was on it. And then I think he must have been in it or whatever, because at the end it said special thanks to the Notorious B.I.G. And at the end of the song, at the end of the episode, it played Juicy. He played a song, If You Don't Know, Now You Know, and all this. And I was like, man, what is that? Like, that's the dopest song. And it was the age of Napster. It's so funny that you mentioned that. So that's what you do. You go straight down to the computer, go on Napster, and then just type in Notorious B.I.G. and just go on the hunt until I found it. And then found Juicy, man, and was like obsessed. Like straight away was just like, that was it. Went and bought Ready to Die, Life After Death, and then was totally in.
What was it about Biggie?
As I got into him, it became like his flow and all these sorts of things which obviously had, as you would know, had a huge influence on me. Then like as we started making music later, the flow aspect, I think just like almost like through osmosis, like once you're listening to someone, like you're saying with Big L, like that sort of thing, or Eminem, like you do start to emulate. So that was definitely had a big influence on me. But I don't know, because I was like, I don't know what it was about it that just jumped out, but it's suddenly the same thing as what you're saying. Like you go from like listening to it as a novelty, or you sort of know about it, to then be like, I'm actually in love with this. Like I'm obsessed with this sort of thing. And I think grew up, like my dad played all these amazing records from like the 60s or 70s. So it was always like around like good music, super creative era. But then hip hop became the thing that like I was like seeking out myself. Like this is, I've found this. This feels very personal or whatever. So then you get into Puck, and then as you go down that rabbit hole, you kind of go find Nas and like get into Illmatic, and as we'd sort of spoken about in the past, like Primo beats, or just like you start to love all that stuff. And it became pretty, I think it was, I didn't know about, and also probably just all the West Coast stuff. I remember loving like Doggy Style or whatever by Snoop. And I'd be like, before I came and met you at Ringwood, I was at Melbourne Tigers or whatever. And I remember the whole team listening to like Korn, Limp Bizkit. And I was like, I do not get this shit.
You didn't like that?
Nah.
And
I would listen to like Snoop, and they would all just give me shit. And I just loved it, man. Like I love all that West Coast stuff, all the Dre beats and everything. And then it was more once I met you later that then you introduced Eminem to me, because I just don't think I got it at the start. But then it started to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I remember first hearing him and being like, this is corny. I can't stand this dude. But it was before I really understood rap. And as I got more into it, I was like, oh my goodness, this dude is actually insane.
Yeah.
You know, and did yours like obsession with it, like it sort of came with basketball and like this obsession with American culture?
A little bit. I reckon it maybe went hand in hand. As we were saying, like we'd be like, with basketball, we're watching M1 mixtapes and all that sort of shit. You're trying to cross dudes up in the game and like come in with like, you know what I mean? So it was like, it definitely went hand in hand in that sense. And I think like basketball was our first dream. Like that's what we wanted to do. Everyone, like our whole world was that, man. Like even when I went to school, I was so checked out. I was like not really interested in class, or you just couldn't wait to get back out there and play basketball. End of the day, play basketball, like weekend, play basketball. That's all we did. And everyone just wanted to try and go to America and play college or whatever. So I guess that was part of we started to probably know of each other, but it feels like maybe after a little bit then kind of I started to have knee trouble. You had like the eye issues. And that's where it became at a certain point kind of evident, like, oh man,
this isn't our path.
I don't think basketball is going to be it, man. This is devastating. And like, it's sort of, we just almost pivoted into this other world, like rap sort of, Yeah,
it became the only thing we really lived for after that. Like basketball was the main one. Rap was a hobby that wasn't something you would think you could do as your life, you know, and then it was just stripped from us. It was amazing actually looking back how that all worked.
Yeah, you actually feel brought together more for this later on than that, even though at the first time you're devastated when it's happening and stuff.
But there's a lesson in that, hey.
Totally.
Like anytime life takes something from you like that and you're gutted from it, there's always some sort of silver lining there.
So often that seems to be the case, which you'd sort of written about, like the whole blessing in disguise idea. That there's a trust factor that comes in there where you kind of like, okay, like where are we? But I guess, had you already started, I'm trying to think where we would have been at, like once we started to leave basketball behind, like were you with Uncut? Like where was that at
yeah,
that point?
so I got with them when I was about 15 or 16. So it would have been around the time when we were playing ball. So I think it actually might when we started talking about it. Like when did you start actually writing raps?
I think almost from that
That TV show?
Probably, yeah, pretty quick. Like that's why it was funny because like in the background, and then I feel like I knew of like Bias B or like Maddie
you were
B.
from there, yeah. You were from.
But we actually were like we're out that way near Hursty.
Yeah,
and all that. We were actually out that way. So same thing, man. Like you start writing little raps.
And were you doing it with anyone?
Just with my mate Raymes.
Oh,
so,
right.
Like, people would know did like Shine on A Mind of My Own. Like eventually we'd actually written essentially a whole album, just never put it out. But it was like he was a really great songwriter in his own right. But at the front end, he was doing raps.
He was doing raps, yeah. I think I remember one of his like verses. He was recording stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So did he have a setup or was it like
I had like I feel like we got hip hop EJ. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah, the classic.
You get the little blocks and you're trying to make a beat, and then got this little dodgy handheld mic that we managed to plug in, and that was it, man. You're just starting to rap. So it was hilarious, like making little songs on that. And then, I feel like, because man, was it Foul Child?
Yeah.
That was kind of iconic. Like you had Murder and Cornflakes or whatever, serving you born fakes.
Serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of bars on that, but it was like just shouting, you know.
Yeah, but still, like dudes loved that shit. So it was kind of
killer delivery, smashing your skull with a letterbox and that.
The wordplay was there, yo. But even that, like serving you born fakes was like a pretty dope setup. So that's like
come on, son.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But you used to always tell me that, like when we'd be freestyling. I feel like there was a point where it became like
the setup was so off.
How funny can you make the setup? Like as long as it's an emphasized multi, people are. He's like, and it used to take the piss out of it. You're like, bro, they don't even know the difference. They won't care. Like, watch this, and he'll just because even when we'll get to it later. But I remember when we had the party, and the dude's dad was like Harry the Hirer, and you're like, if you're getting married, I'll fire. Make some noise for Harry the Hirer, and everyone's like, oh, and you just look across at me and smile like, told you. I'm just like, it became this personal joke.
Man, I remember when we'd go on drives with Tyson that, and we'd chuck beats on, and it'd just be about saying the setup, and you just come in over the top like a hype man, ready for the word, ready for the rhyme. Like I'd be like driving and go, check out them something about I'm listening to that drum and bass, and I'd be like, yeah, look at that car in front, check out its number plates,
and then I'd say number
do it over
plate.
the top.
You're just trying to pick what you're setting up. Yeah.
Oh man, that was so much fun, eh?
Incredible time. But like, I guess, so before we got there, like the basketball thing fell away. And then, I guess we started to link up. Like, I'm trying to think, we were still working jobs at that point. So there's some very funny stories about jobs that we probably had. I don't know whether we go there yet, but like in and around that, did we sort of start to make contact, or was it, I'm trying to think of how it,
I think
or was it maybe the freestyles?
Yeah, it was the freestyle. We started connecting through like just hanging out at basketball a lot and talking about hip hop and stuff. And I remember you specifically going, yeah, man, I rap too and stuff. And it was just like, we were like feeling each other out, you know what I mean?
You're
and
like,
then,
oh, you rap, do you? We'll see about that.
yeah.
And I think I knew, I was like, oh man, all right. And then we were freestyling on the bus, and I remembered vividly, like, I won't say the dude's name, but he was kind of like, he had that bleach blonde hair, pretty heavy set cat. And I was like, yeah, yo, his white hair's a nightmare. And if you I can't even remember, if you're trying to look for him, can't find him, just go to Macca's and he'll be right there. And then you were like, whoa. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, see, I told you I raps, But that was good. I felt like I won you over in that moment and was
just strictly from multis.
Just that totally. Because I don't know if I was fully on the multi thing yet, but I was very aware that you were, and then was like, this is the moment. I got to let him know that I'm serious about this. And it was so then after that we started to sort of and then I can't remember whether maybe I sort of then met Matic.
And where did you meet Matic?
So I went to school with Matic. He was a dude that I knew from there. And
Is that Q High?
Q High.
Yeah.
Hated that school, but met a few key people in my life there. So I'm very grateful for that. And Matic was one of them. I can't remember whether it was a mutual friend or we crossed paths. And then I was like, I'm into rap. And he's like, man, I'm making beats. He had his MPC and he loved Primo. And I love Primo. So I was like, all right, we can get on board with this. And then I started to go to his place and we started making like a little demo. And the original festival song was actually on that. I think it might have even been nearly the first song we made. We made that beat sort of.
It had the same hook?
Yep. So we had it was like a friend, it might have even been his girlfriend at the time. Like I kind of had summer days, like I had that idea and all that. And then he got, Haley ended up coming around and she actually came around to sing on, I think even These Days beat was on there too, man.
Yeah. Wow.
So she came in to sing on that. She wrote that little hook and then we sort of showed her Summer Days and Matic was like, man, maybe we try and get her to sing behind that. I think at first I didn't want to. I was like, nah, it's like keep it more raw. And he's like, let's try it. She sang the Summer Days thing and I was like, good call. So then we kind of had that, wouldn't have known how to rap. Like it would have been just cute as.
And he was using the MPC kind of, that's how he was making beats, drums. Because he had that real dusty kind of sample
which we
vibe
loved,
to
like
it.
all that thing. He had a great ear.
Yeah, man.
Always had such a great ear for samples.
So much brilliance in those songs.
Totally, man. Like we just clicked. And then, I feel like, and his next door neighbor was a bass player who used to be in a band.
Right.
So that was like, we didn't know anything, man. We probably DI'd it in or whatever we did, but it was like he came around and played the bass on Summer Days and all that stuff. Yeah, so it was kind of that. And I think, man, even actually it was like, as I was doing that, then through other friends of friends, I met Seth. And I started to meet up with him and we'd kind of write. And even like the song we did on A Mind of My Own was actually from all the way back then. Like that's how like lazy it was when you do an album later. It's like, oh, that's a song. We'll chuck that on there or whatever. I met him through that and he was doing a hip hop night. He was starting to want to rap with his friends and all that.
Yeah.
And I think he said it was called Sideshow Freaks at Commercial Club.
Yeah.
And then he hit me up to go, bro, do you want to like play a set, with Matic? And I'm like, all right, like we'll try and do that. In the lead up to it, the next door neighbor who played the bass, his son went to Carey Grammar and Matic gave him our little demo and then it went kind of through the whole school and the Summer Days song, they all loved it. So it was kind of like we played it at that show and then I hit you up to be like, hey man, I'm playing a set. Can you kind of do you want to come and play the set with me? You want to be, and I know you would have been like, oh man, what is this? Elaborate. Like what?
Was that for Jamo, was that his name? Jamo? His party?
Oh, the party came later. But the actual Seth show was when I feel like that's when I got you to come down.
Because like I remember recording at, I think it was Matic's house.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember he was
oh man,
stepped on the puss. He was a really wholesome dude, and I think we're actually all quite wholesome. But I was like going through this teenage thing where I was putting on this facade of not being the opposite of wholesome, and I think I remember that really rubbing him the wrong way.
Well, that's right. So I don't want to cut you off because keep going, but I think you were obviously an Eminem fan, so he was saying the rawest stuff ever.
Yes.
And you were signed to Uncut.
Yeah.
So you were going off the deep end.
I was all about shock value. I was very, it's kind of savage, just like I did not care. I was out to offend people.
And I think I was like, man, I'm bringing my friend 60 around. And then Oh, they were horrified, man, because I remember we did this song.
Yelling when we were recording
and then you said all this like real raw stuff, and I was like, okay, we'll do a song. I just thought it was funny, and like I was just like, all right. And I remember you I'm not going to say what we said, but I remember you daring me to say a line at the end, and I'm like, I'll say it. So I just say this like insanely offensive line at the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were horrified.
I can remember the vibe in the house was just like
very uneasy, but. So we actually had done the song together. Yeah, that's funny as because I remember I played that to my mum and was like, "Mum, check out this song," and she nearly slapped me in the face. Like, and I was like, "Oh," which kind of helped me learn because I was like, "Oh, right, words, like you can actually they have power in these songs. Like you can with what you do with them."
Yeah,
sort of
we were so innocently just like emulating Eminem and like loving that kind of stuff that we didn't even think how other people not from that world would perceive it.
Yeah, and I think because we didn't take it literally.
Yeah,
you're looking at the artistry.
It's comical.
How it's comical. It's like it's so over the top that it's deliberately not real. But we're looking at the artistry of how he's putting the scheme together, or how you make the things rhyme, or how you know what I mean. So it was like we're looking at it in a very different way, like how creative it actually was. But that's right. So then you came down. I remember I got convinced you, which I feel like was the full people pleaser phase where you would have been like probably thinking, oh man, this is going to be so cringe, but I couldn't say no and came down, and then it was wild.
The show was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, everyone was singing the hook. Like from that moment I was always like, man, this feels like this song like has something to it. But I know you were kind of like, oh, okay, like this is kind of...
It woke me up. It was like, whoa, this is for real. And I remember just getting up on that stage, just being like, make some noise, just the most harsh. Oh man. And
I love that you were just so deep in the character. And I feel like you followed it up with, who here likes sluts?
dude.
And like there's probably some bogans there that are just like, yeah. And other people are just
everyone else is just like, what is
horrified.
this? What is PEZ doing? I remember everyone telling you like, dude, what are you doing with this guy?
But I was like, man, he's a legend. Like it's actually, he's not like that, like blah, blah, blah. But I guess, yeah, where did that, I think it was probably after that, man. Like we really like.
We started dialing in with the writing.
Well, that was pretty much the beginning of like, I know we got to go off on a tangent of the jobs that we did before, but I knew I hated work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just not about it, mainly because I think maybe the working class background, but it was kind of like, it seemed like my dad was so unhappy at work and all the other dads, they just seemed miserable. I was like, man, this is not an option for me. Like that's the belief at the time. That's changed as I matured, but like at that time was like anything but that. So I was just a menace like when I was working jobs. And then I remember you started to pretty much come to
every
my house.
Friday.
You were still a chippy at the time doing your apprenticeship, and then you started to rock up on the Friday afternoon. What would you bring with you when
have a whole slab of Carlton Draft every single time,
and the 2 or 3 thin and crispy meat lovers from Domino's or whatever? You just walk in.
It's all I would order. It was every single weekend, and then we would just like we just connected, man. We just had this bond. It was like
it was immediate, sort of.
Yeah, it was like a kinship, and we were just having so much fun, just writing raps and just.
You would just stay the whole weekend, man, until then pretty much Monday you'd take off Sunday night to get up to go. And I would go to my shitty job, and I feel like I was not about it. And I started to probably just get in your ear like, bro, like, what about if we just quit, man?
Yeah.
Let's just become rappers, you know what I mean? Like I know everyone thinks it's ridiculous, but I feel like we can do it. And then you pretty much, I
remember like really trying to stick to that hard thug kind of street persona, and somewhere along the line there you were just like, dude, why are you trying to be something you're not? You were just like, you're a lovely guy, you're a sweetheart, you're really funny, just lean into that, stop trying to be something you're not. And I was just like, yeah, that's true, why don't I just be myself? And just started, you helped me to evolve and to just let go of that, you know, that
like the feeling the need to sort of put on that thing because you could do it. Like everyone loved you for it, but it was more just like, I was like, and not even just being a sweetheart. It was more that we were very lighthearted, very playful, and just took the piss out of everything. It was more like, you don't have to feel like that pressure to do that. Like, man, let's just be
because it was like in the scene at the time, it was like all the stuff, because in the Oz hip hop world, man, it's very
particularly
very
then.
street, and I mean, it still is.
Well,
bro.
now
like,
it's totally.
It's like it's all about your reputation. It's all about being a scumbag, and just like it sort of goes hand in hand with that. You know, it comes from the graph scene. It's like a lot of very staunch characters in there, and I was just like, if I want to do well in this, then I just got to emulate that.
Yeah, which a lot of dudes would do that now too. Like there's some real street dudes, they glorify it and everything. But then there's everyone else pretty much starts going, I want to be like that. You see young little lads, like little try-hard dudes that all start put their uniform on, they all wear the same stuff. They start behaving a certain way, and it's sort of like, it actually almost creates a culture more than reflects a culture a lot of the time.
Yeah, well said. And then we were just writing raps and just going in, but it was going away from that world. It was more embracing our funny side and just like really going to town with it. And we started getting kind of bold.
Yeah.
We really believed in ourselves, and we were like, dude, listen to these dudes. Like all these guys that we had names in the scene, we were like, they're no good, man.
They're rubbish, yeah.
Yeah, so we started just going at them.
Yeah.
We were just like, let's diss them all, man. Like, F them, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember we dissed like a bunch of dudes. Like we dissed the Hoods and a bunch of guys from Melbourne who were not happy.
Yeah. Well, I feel like because we were such smart asses, like the Hoods are obviously like huge. Well, they weren't necessarily huge then, and like Suffer's like amazing. So it's like, but there was other dudes. It was like that's how brazen and arrogant it was, where we were kind of like, there was lots of dudes that we just thought were like thought it was hilarious, but then got so bold that you're just sort of being smart asses about everything that it was even like taking shots like at everyone, just almost thinking it was like a game that you're playing. Like it's not serious.
Yeah, it wasn't
like, oh, I actually think that and we want beef and all this stuff. It was like just trying to be smart asses, almost like How to Rob or something.
It was very much emulating that like How to Rob, 50 Cent, that Eminem vibe of like dissing people, but it was never personal.
Totally,
and we realized pretty quickly how personal people took it.
I think because we came from the battle, like you were doing battles, like it was almost just like that's what you thought. It's like friendly competition. I don't even know, man.
Yeah,
I thought it was just being
it's
funny.
Entertainment. That's what we thought it was. And then you're getting called up and
it was like, then you start getting death threats and shit and you're like, okay, it's not a game. Like
these dudes are sensitive, man.
They're senso and they're about it. So it was like, okay. But that obviously sort of created some like ripple effect like within the scene itself. With like, certain people having like their backup or any of that sort of shit. I'm trying to think where it probably led from there, but it was like, I guess we started to then move into all the mixtapes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like X and Hell, like that was a big like kind of launch pad for kind of a lot of that stuff to give us opportunity to even just be there and then go into like probably the Evelyn and the Spot and everything like that.
Yeah. So the Litigate used to run this night every week on Mondays and at the Evelyn, or it was at Tuesdays at the Spot. It was over the years it varied. The time frame's a bit hard to pick up, but every week there'd be some sort of open mic thing, or like they'd have people performing, and we started jumping in on a lot of the performances, especially when Weapon X and Ken Hell were performing, who had quite a big following in Melbourne. They used to perform at the Evelyn and they'd get 400 people or 300 people down there. So every time they'd ask us to go, we'd be like, here we go.
Here we go. This is the start.
We just get up there, and our goal every time was to become the main act. It was like we're going to crush whoever we support.
Half the time, no hooks, like
no
just
hooks,
bars or
just rambling and just talking trash. And people were the raps were actually really good. Like they were quality stuff. So people were always just losing it. Like I remember you doing the double time stuff over that Shine beat.
Oh yeah.
And that would just get so many cheers.
That was like, well, I guess Biggie did that a little bit, and like the Bone Thugs influence, all that stuff. But like we were talking about before, it's funny how those influences like shape the stuff you want to write. But I know that our pen game sort of leveled up quite quickly. Like once we were just really about it and we were always together just writing raps, like how drastically that changed really quickly. It started feeling like, yeah.
And did we release the ForthWrite mixtape first, or was it the Weapon X and Can Hell? Can you remember?
It was all those things first.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I know even reflecting later, like doing, say, like the Awesome Freestyle or like Into Chub or In the Chub, whatever. I can't even remember what it was called. All those funny things that were really iconic in hindsight. It's like, what really, when we did like the ForthWrite mixtape, you should put all of that stuff
We should have chucked it on there.
Yeah, like you don't know. Like, so there's so many dope things, or some things even feel way doper than what's on there, and you like, no one's ever heard it. Like, had no real concept of that, what we were doing. I think we were pretty much all in on wanting to do a ForthWrite thing. The only thing is I'd been making these songs with Matic.
Yeah.
And that kind of was always in the background where I was like, oh man, I feel like I've got to do this thing with Matic first, and then let's do it, because some of this stuff feels really cool. And that was almost the whole, because I remember I kind of had to convince him. We had that, I was like, I need to get you on the album. And I feel like the Summer Days song like has something. We always felt that. And I remember telling Matic, like, I want to put 6 on it because I want us to have like a ForthWrite single as the single, you know what I mean? Like that's what it felt like. And we'd been going to festivals and all the rest. So like we had that idea of just like, man, it'd be so funny to write a song about this, because it felt like we were just having the best time. Like it was such a, can you even remember much of the stuff from the festivals? I'm trying to remember. But
yeah. I can remember, what's Goz's brother? Zave, was it?
Zave, yeah.
Yeah. And remember that guy who was like, Zave, you going to let me use your credit card? Well, I can't remember his name, but he had the craziest accent and just voice.
Loves that.
That was classic. That kind of reshaped the way we spoke for a while.
Totally, yeah.
And and the comfort her stuff.
Just these 3-day benders.
Yeah, we would just go hard. Well,
I remember the first one I went to, man, like literally the song, like the inspiration for that was like, that was my first experience, was so innocent. And that's what we did. Like you just load up all of this alcohol, all of these things, and you've just like got it in the boot and in the trailer that you're bringing in. And then you get there and you're lining up, and suddenly there's all these people at the front like checking it. And then you're like,
oh, here we go.
Oh man, what? They're just going to take all our stuff. Like this is devastating. And then getting to the front, and then Zave, and they're like, you guys been checked? And Zave's like, we certainly have, mate. And he's like, and then we just got to go through and we're like, yes. Then we pulled through, and then the next thing you meant to go left all the way out to where all the people park, and he just pulls into the artist car park, and we just camped up like right in the middle next to the stage. The whole thing was like this Cinderella story of like, man. So that's why it was like, yeah, very fond memories of it, where you kind of like, to the point that then I guess for us, when we went to Pyramid and it was just those iconic memories, that was the vision I always had in my head. That stage, that's what I literally could see.
I don't know when it was, but when I was living in Port Melbourne, remember that guy introduced us to The Secret? And we just started, like, we watched this documentary and we were just like, oh, and I can remember you going, man, I've known this stuff. I feel like this is just confirming something. I remember
belief that I kind of had at that point, or whatever, that we can do it or whatever.
Yeah, but it was like a descriptive outline of how to do it.
Yeah.
So we started just like pretty much every night we were together, we were just like lying on the bed,
just visualizing
all this stuff, and like picturing us in the moment so perfectly that our whole body would feel like we were actually there. Like we'd get full of adrenaline and like feel like we were on drugs.
Yeah.
And that was just constantly while we were writing. I remember that, man.
Well, because that's why I said to you, like after that day that sort of you came around, and I remember we did like it just all, that thing we were talking about where it sort of all just like poured out with Festival Song. We sort of had 3 verses or whatever. I remember you went home, and then I was just listening to it at night, and I was like, man, I'm like, because I guess a conventional song, that's what you would do. 3 verses is like more than enough. But I was like, man, it feels like it's like just, it doesn't like wrap up. It needs some little thing to just end the story. Like I'm really into it, and then it feels like, so we ended up going back and adding the extra little bit. But I remembered like vibing out to it and telling you, I was like, man, I feel like I can actually see this. Like I feel like this is going to be something. I don't know what's going on, but I fully kind of believe it. And then when we did that clip and walked out in front of like 10,000 people, it was exactly as I'd seen it in my head. Like it was the weirdest experience because as you know, like how terrified I would be to perform. I was a polar opposite to you. You like couldn't wait to go on stage, and I was always like, man, it's like crippling. But for that one, it wasn't. It was totally calm.
Oh, you were in the zone.
Felt like something came over. It felt like we'd been there before. I was like, man, this is so surreal. Like I don't know how to explain what's going on here, but it was very weird.
What was that feeling like where you'd get nervous? Was it anxious or was it like doubt, or what was it that would
all of the above, almost from the jump, man. I feel like that was a noticeable thing where we were so different in that way. Maybe like at the start, I don't know whether it was more just once there started to be that putting it out and the criticism from the world. I'm not really sure, but like definitely in a performance sense, the innocence was sort of gone. So you were always just like, could not wait, like chomping at the bit to get out there, just had so much life. And I was always like, all of those things.
I think that coming from the battle rap world and doing that when I was a teenager.
It shaped you, like actually got you prepared for it.
Yeah, because I think it's so like getting up on stage in front of people is so unnatural and is so far out of anyone's comfort zone that when you are doing it as a teenager, you're basically putting your comfort zone there. So that when we were actually performing shows, it was like I'd already gone through that. You know, and I think as a teenager, you have this kind of almost fearlessness in that regard. And that's awesome. That was a blessing, I think.
Totally. Yeah, I didn't even think of that, man, but that's totally makes a lot more sense where I think I was not prepared. Like in my mind, I think there was this big gap between the belief there and then when it actually started to happen was kind of like, oh, this is overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like we said, like with even the launch for the album, like playing at Roxanne, when like going to that venue and like I'm telling them like, oh, I'm hoping I can get like 500 people here, and they like laughed at me. They're like, oh, we're thinking more like 150, and it was like 900, and it was totally packed, and they had to turn people away. So like in your head, you like want this thing to happen, but then when it would happen,
you freak out.
Yeah,
I remember before the Roxanne show, you were backstage and you were really skitzing out. It was like,
so you could see it, like it's just vividly.
You were on the verge of almost cancelling, man.
Yeah, which I always felt that.
Everyone had to clear out. Can you remember that?
No, a lot of it's a blur.
Everyone had to just leave you to kind of breathe. Like I was like, dude, are you right? Like, do you want a drink or something? And you just were like, you were so shook up about it and didn't know what to do. But then once you jumped up there, it took maybe a couple songs and you were just in it.
Right.
Yeah, you started smashing it, man.
Oh, cool. I can't remember that. Like a lot of it's a blur. Like it feels like I think I carried that through most of it. Like that was the hard thing, because suddenly you are in all these shows where you're in front of thousands of people all the time, and it was generally that sort of torment. Kind of like what you touched on, how you'd been feeling after coming back. It was the first time, and I never thought you would go through it, but it was like, yeah, it was kind of like that. And that's why it was so weird to come full circle now, do the 15-year anniversary tour for A Mind of My Own, and it was the total opposite. Like you might still get the fear rush before you come on. Like now we deal with that very differently. But I was like, there's times when you're just present on stage, you feel the connection of everyone. I just loved it. And I was like, man, so this is what it's meant to feel like this whole time? All right, this would have been a very different experience if you could actually surrender to the process like that. It was just amazing.
I remember for a few years there before it all started popping off, we were performing shows to basically no one.
Totally.
Do you remember that? Like going to Sydney and going up to Brisbane, we got our first paid gig and they marketed it as Surfhop because we had like blonde cats. It was very cringe and very innocent and cute.
Totally. Well, that was the funniest thing, man. That felt like we looked like surfies in that, and then neither of us could surf. I only had long hair at the time. Like even that's how much we didn't give a shit. It was like even going into doing the festival song clip, I'd never had long hair in my life.
You just didn't cut your hair.
I just hadn't cut my hair because we'd been on settling for 2 years. Like that was the only reason. I like didn't have the foresight to think like, hey man, like your image or any of this stuff. It was just like, that's just what I looked like at the time. Okay, we're doing the clip. So yeah, it was like this idea of like the unique brand of Surfhop Man, it was gross.
And then I vividly remember when we did the Pyramid Rock, like the video for the festival song, and we performed that. It was like, oh, here we go, it's on. And then I remember walking out to the crowd and just seeing, like, we were like, let's see what happens here. And you just got swarmed by just all these people. And I was just standing out the side, just like, oh, okay, I see. I see what's going on here. And I remember at the time as well, I think there was like, we were reading The Power of Now or something like that.
Right.
And I was like, there was that urge to be like jealous and have that envy of what you were going, why aren't I getting the attention, you know?
Right.
I'm on the song too. But I remember just quickly being able to separate from that. And I think that was very lucky that I was able to do that.
Right.
And I was just like, nah, this is his moment. Let him soak it in. Cause like your career then just went bang, and you were just like the go-to guy for any rap shows. You were supporting everyone, like Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah, the Lupe thing, all of that. There was
Vanilla
a lot of fun.
Ice.
Remember the Vanilla Ice one? That was hilarious. That was so funny. There was so many funny things we did. There was like dope international supports and then other things that were just so funny that we're like, bro, Vanilla Ice, we got to do this. This is going to be hilarious, man.
Yep. And there was like this moment where these girls were getting on stage and Vanilla Ice was like, don't be a tease, show your titties.
Your titties.
And there was this, there's a chick up there and long hair, this like small top on, pulls down the top and it's like a dude. And everyone just starts losing it and booing him and that. And it was actually Nick Cave's son.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was very memorable. And there was heaps of shows like that where it was popping off for ages. And when, like, it didn't seem like it was always that crippling, that anxiety that you had. It didn't seem like it was always like that, you know?
Right. Well, even talking like the other tour that I'd done recently with Sethage, he was saying that. He's like, oh man, like I didn't know you were going through it like that.
Badly.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I was masking it better than I thought.
So was it the whole time or was it just sometimes?
A lot of the time, man. I think it was always pretty crippling. And then obviously through that phase, we were you're partying a lot and you're trying to use drugs and alcohol to mask it.
And did it?
I think it probably just numbed me more than anything.
Because like I can remember when...
Or maybe there was times with you like, you know, like even like maybe the Bliss and Esso tours, we did have a lot of fun.
The Seth tour as well. Remember with Jackie Splash and that?
Yeah, so when Seth supported, so that was the A Mind of My Own tour, and we probably did nearly 40 shows.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty like crippling for me there.
Really?
Yeah, like it was loose, but I feel like it was wild. Like it was like, it wasn't necessarily that enjoyable for me. It was kind of like very, I don't know, just emotionally taxing.
I can remember... There, I don't know if it was that tour, but it was one of them where it was up in Airlie Beach, and you were just not well, man.
Yeah, well, I think the Graves thing had started to kind of become a thing by then too.
And was that like, during?
It would have been, yeah.
The Mind of My Own tour,
yeah.
Right.
So that's the other thing, like you're kind of like not well, you're abusing yourself.
Oh, man.
And then so like a bunch of those factors that were like, it should be, I guess, yeah, you learn a lot through that.
Like we had no idea what was going on with you, man. Like I remember we were at a New Year's Eve party at that chick Tammy's house, and you were like, man, we were doing so much Louis. It was like crazy, and you were just like, I don't know. You were like, I don't know what's going on, but my heart's just like feels like it's about to explode. And we're like, dude, just have another line. And you'd go have another line. How bad that is.
I better just have another one, man. It's like nearly going to kill yourself.
Oh man, it's so scary to think about. And
I feel like so many people don't know that Louis is like when we say that in the song, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
speed.
Say, hey Louis, that it meant speed at the time.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but Louis was speed.
Yeah.
And we used to just go so hard on it, and man, that would have really triggered a lot of the Graves.
Definitely. Like there was like, I guess there was high points in it, but it was always a bit of a blur. Like even when I think of like when just doing the dad jokes on you song with Esso recently, and we were like reflecting on things, and it was kind of like, yeah, like some of that Bliss and Esso tour was wild.
And they've got footage of us. Can you remember that?
Oh, I don't know.
They've got footage of us so coked out of our heads we were trash talking, man.
Well, we were trash talking the whole time, and that's why he was reflecting. He was like, I don't know if hopefully he's all right with me telling this story, but like he was like remembering how wasted we all were, and that like he came up, like we were all freestyling, he came up and sort of started battling me, and we were like sort of trash talk and all that sort of stuff. And then suddenly he just sort of walked away and left. And I can't remember whether it was Megs or like who
She told us, yeah.
Someone said, oh, he just sharded, so he had to just abort mission, whatever. And we're just like, what? And I'm like, oh, everybody clap your hands. Our man Esso back here just shat his pants. And everyone's like, oh, and he's like, comes like, shut the fuck up, pants.
Oh, yeah,
and it was like hilarious.
Yeah. He deuced.
But he was just like, and it was wild. So we did, I guess in and amongst it, maybe we did have a lot of fun too, but like.
It was a lot of fun, but it was also quite dark as well.
It was pretty dark.
Yeah.
I think it was really pretty hectic.
Man, it's so cool to see how far he's come from that, like the way he get off all the booze now, you know? Like
well, that was, as I'd said to him, I was like, because even when we like agreed to do that song, I'm like, man, I just want to do this. Like I think we ran into each other one time, probably at a festival or at a thing, and he's like, how's dad life, bro? I'm like, oh, it's great, man. How's it going for you? He's like, oh, it's awesome. He's like, we might have to hit these dudes with like a song about being dad rappers at some point, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we actually should though. Like I'm serious, like sort of thing. And we would always joke about it. And I remember with Jay, I was just waiting for like, oh, is there something going to come along that might suit that theme or whatever. But when it came time to like, we're sort of finishing the song, like trying to do the tour, do all these things, and then made this decision to be like, all right, we're going to shoot a clip. And I had to like book flights for him, a comm, set up all this stuff. My memories of him are just like, he's so loose. So I was like, man, is he even going to like come? Like, is he going to get on the plane? Am I going to, I've organized all this like production crew, all these things, and he might just not rock up. But yeah, no, he rocked up and was like so professional.
Yeah, man.
He's so clean. I mean, he still loves a spliff. But it was very impressive to see how
far he'd come.
That and just kind of the levels to it, how he would just be sitting there talking, we're just laughing, and then suddenly the camera's on and he'd just like go bang, he'd just like lock in, could just perform, do a take, and I was just like, man, this is so effortless for him.
He's got that it factor.
He does. It's just, he's just naturally born to do it sort of thing. It was so effortless. But yeah, so he was just super professional and very impressive in that regard. But I'm like, man, it is funny how a lot of us, like as we've matured, like my memories of when we were like young and we were loose too.
Oh yeah. And I remember how outspoken you used to get. Right, when PEZ was off chops on Charlie, it was like it was like giving him truth serum.
Truth serum, that's what you used to call it.
The people pleaser used to just come down and he would say everything. It was classic. Classic.
Yeah, there were some things that were like definitely said. I don't know whether they should be mentioned on the podcast or not. But
I remember there was one time when you're just calling up our mate and just like in the middle of a party, I think it was probably 3 a.m. and you just like, he used to rap in an American accent. So it was like you were calling him to say, hey man, I've figured it out. Stop doing that accent, you know?
There was never any malice behind it though. Malice. That was the worst part.
It was out of love, man.
It was like this no filter thing sort of happened.
And then our other mate, you just like, he just dropped a mixtape and you were just like, he's like, I want to know what you think. And you're like, do you really? And then you just go in on him, man.
I was like, I think it sucks, man. Like you're just trying too hard. You're trying to do all these things. And he was like, take him back. And then I remember later then it was like Justice and that he was asking him and Justice like, I really like it, man. He's like, tell me the truth, man. At least Pez is honest with me. But I was like, yeah, it was definitely a problem. Maybe that was bringing to light an issue that I had later in life, was kind of like the people pleaser thing where you really struggle to say what you think. And it can become pretty crippling at a certain point. Not to be nasty or to be malicious, but just be authentic. Like actually just
saying honest things.
Just be honest sort of thing.
Like
it's a funny journey.
So often we will just duck saying what needs to be said because you don't want to hurt anyone. And it just makes it worse, you know.
I feel like we can probably unpack this on the next ep because we're trying that, you know, we're learning. We're figuring this out as we go, but we're trying to aim for about an hour or so each ep.
How long we been going now?
That's probably about that, I think. So, you know, I'm trying to and obviously, we're doing a few here, then we're going to drop them. We'll get some feedback. We find out from you guys what you're feeling. We definitely want to do an actual Q&A once we start to open up maybe some direct link to actually having the Discord or a message board where we can really interact with everyone and actually answer direct questions that they want and stuff. But
yeah, we'll start adding that into the episodes as we evolve more and get used to what we're doing. We'll put that in there.
Definitely. But I reckon we can delve back into this in the next ep, babe, because there's a lot of...
Next episode, we'll start breaking down.
There's lots. I think even just coming full circle to where we're at, that's one of the main things we wanted to, I think, even have the podcast for in the first place. Like when we would catch up, how just we'd often go off on these different tangents of stuff and then be like, oh man, you end up talking about something really interesting and just feeling like this in a public space, like actually being able to have some sort of dialogue, particularly in the era we're in now where people are scared to talk about this or scared to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Just having like some actual discourse where you can go into all those areas and unpack it, as well as then just for us personally feeling like we've come full circle back to where we started and that brotherhood is kind of just there again. So there's so much stuff to talk about, but I think we can go into a lot of that more deeply in the next ep.
Yep, easy as. Thanks for staying with us, and like, subscribe, all those good things.
Follow, whatever else it is. Do it, babe. Peace out.
Forth Riz.